They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet. Gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen. In Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Funding for Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen is brought to you by the city of Stanford, Kentucky. Come back home to Stanford. L81 Bottling Company. Taste, love, and share the tradition. Woods Equipment Company has every tool you need to make working the land as rewarding as hunting it. Good Foods Co-op, Marksbury Farm Market, Weisenberger Mill, your village shop.
Hello and welcome to Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. Doesn't it feel like spring?
It does. It is spring.
Hear the sound of mowers in the distance?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Always as we begin our show. And the wind starts blowing. The wind's blowing to the west all day. As soon as we start the show, boom.
So we can cry.
Got ashes all over us. But we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We're rugged.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Today, it would be a crime to be anywhere near the indoors.
That's true. Very true.
Beautiful out. The red buds are blooming. You know, remember we talked about eating the red buds on our show, previous shows, about all the stuff you can eat outdoors. You know, we really love to be close to the earth and figure out what's going on. Mushrooms are out and about. We need to go look for those very shortly as we're turkey scouting.
Love that.
But we have a very wonderful, delicious dish today. I've been on a cumin cilantro kick.
You have.
You notice my wood pile?
Yes, it's big, and I notice your big setup. You got all kinds of pans out and all kinds of. What you making?
All kinds of stuff.
Looks good.
Look, my wood pile is huge now.
It is.
Look,
it is huge.
All over the place. We have piles and piles of wood. My smokehouse, I even stocked it back up. It's ready to go. So much stuff you can smoke. We haven't even begun to explore the options there. But recently, I love hominy. And I was talking to someone a while back. I think it was Sarah.
Okay.
At Tater Knob. And she talked about her friend who makes hominy. Now, that is not an easy process. You don't just go in the kitchen and say, hey, let's make some hominy.
Really?
It's
I'd like to see
long
that.
and drawn out. You want to see it?
I do want to see it.
I'll show you right now.
Okay.
Let's go to Mount Olivet, Kentucky, or thereabouts, close to the Mason-Robertson County line. And let's talk to Jennifer about the whole process of making hominy.
Yum.
And then we're going to bring it back and use it in a recipe. On the Mason-Robertson County line. I'm in my old stomping grounds.
There you are.
With Jennifer Gleason. You know what? We're in a little bit of heaven here. We're meeting some cool people on this show, and you're one of them.
Thank you.
Now look what I've been wanting to do for the longest time. Hominy, 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 hominy.
Hominy, 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 hominy.
Now that is truly old-fashioned stuff. When I was a kid, I absolutely loved it. It was a treat when we go to somebody else's farm, and we'd have this hominy. I was fascinated with the process and wanted to do that for years and years and years. And we started to get into contact about a year ago, and through our friend Sarah, Tater Knob, and we started finding out all these cool things you're doing right here. Let's go ahead and back up.
Okay.
Let's talk about the corn that starts this whole process.
So it's called Hickory King Corn, but it's really tall corn that is open pollinated, non-GMO, heirloom variety. It's been grown around here for at least 300 years.
Wow.
And it's all-purpose corn. It's very long ear, and it's 8-row, meaning there's 8 kernels around the cob. So it's a real skinny cob. You might have noticed that when we were shelling it.
Now this may be a good time to address the fact that if you hear a banging in the background, it's only gale force winds.
That's right.
That's why we're in here.
That's right, and we can't stop it. It's that exhaust fan blowing. So I love this corn because it's good for eating as a sweet corn in the milk stage, or you let it dry on the plant like this has done, and then you can grind it into cornmeal and grits. You can make hominy.
You know, as I look at that, it isn't an ancient-looking corn.
Isn't it?
It looks like it's got some history there.
So I think it's even more than 300 years, because when I have traveled and brought this corn when I'm selling my stuff, it's so wonderful when people come up and they'll pick up that corn and they'll say, is that Hickory King? You know, because it's like a person's face. You can recognize what the variety is. So I think it's much older than what I know that it is.
Now, in a minute, we're going to go step-by-step process. I wanted to do this years ago, and I'm so glad we found you.
Me
but,
too.
you know, you have where we did it today, but you have a commercial kitchen as well, where you sell all these things. Now, today you just showed us step-by-step right here. Even the old wood stove is cool. You're doing this with actual wood from right here.
Yeah.
So, I tell you what, before we grab lunch, let's go ahead and talk about the process step-by-step. Where do you start this?
So we start with the whole kernel, the whole corn on the cob. It's dry. So we take the corn on the cob, we go to the old-fashioned hand sheller, we turn the sheller to shell the corn.
I saw one of those had date 1902 on it.
Yeah, and they still sell them today because they have not improved on that technology. Isn't that incredible?
That is
For
amazing.
a hand-turned machine, that is still, you can buy them new. And then we winnow it, which means you pour the corn from a height of maybe 4 feet from one basket into another, and a breeze will blow off the chaff. If it's not a breezy day, we put a box fan on and blow it. So now we've got the whole kernel corn, and we are ready to make the lime water.
Lime water, not lime.
Now you could make it with lye. You can make it with lye or slaked lime or ashes.
Gotcha.
You can use any of those 3 things as the base liquid to make your hominy. We use calcium hydrate or slaked lime or pickling lime. That's all the same stuff. The water is brought to a simmer, and then you sprinkle the powdered lime on top. On the wood stove. So our recipe is 3.5 gallons of water, filtered water, to 1.5 cups of slaked lime, which is a white fine powder. It looks like talc, only whiter. Bring that again to a simmer, and then you take it off the stove and sit it away from heat with the lid on for at least 2 hours, and then that calcium hydrate is going to separate out, and you'll have the resulting called lime water. So now it's separated out, and we're going to pour off the clear liquid. You don't have to do that, but it makes a cleaner hominy. It's easier at the rinse stage. Right. And now that lime water is ready to add your 6 pounds of whole kernel corn to the lime water. Now we bring that, put that back on the stove, and we bring that up to a boil, and then we'll turn the stove all the way down, and we'll let it simmer overnight.
That's kind of a forgotten art, just how to work the stove.
Yes, I'll make sure there's enough wood in the fire, turn it down, and then the next morning we come and it looks like what we saw in the pot, the finished thing. So then now it's swelled up to 3 times its size, and the water is kind of yellowish, and now we want to rinse off all that coating. So I didn't tell you what's happening. So the reason you're using a base liquid is because the corn, each kernel has a coating, and it's clear and it's hard. It's almost like a shellac. So the base material in the water will dissolve that. And that then allows the grain inside to swell up and soak up that water and the heat too.
Therein lies the story, which you told me off camera a little while ago, when times were tough.
Yes.
In this part of the country during the Depression.
Yes.
And other parts.
Anywhere they were eating mainly corn. So by soaking this corn, you are removing that coating that actually makes the corn less digestible. So by taking that coating off, the B vitamins in the corn become available to you, which they are not if we just grind this up into cornmeal and corn and grits. But by doing this, your body can absorb the B vitamins, and if you don't do that, when people were eating this 3 times, 4 times a day, they got pellagra. And it was a disease that you would see among people, was a vitamin deficiency. Like scurvy is a vitamin deficiency for vitamin C. It's that type of a illness.
And the Native Americans had it figured out a long time ago.
The Native peoples in South America and Mexico and Native peoples in America, they knew that if you use ashes, and if you ask those people, and if you go way, way, way back, you say, how do they know that? People are always asking, how do people know things? Well, you know, Native peoples are way more in touch with everything, and they would tell you, the corn told us.
We're so far away from nature.
Yes.
They were one with
They were one with nature, and nature continues to speak to us.
So we've got this thing down to an edible, wonderful If you've never had it, what would you compare it to?
Well, it's not a really appetizing comparison, but I think it tastes like wet, buttery popcorn. You know, it's kind of, and that might sound bad, but if you think of cereal, you know, it starts out crunchy, and then as the milk goes through, it gets soggier and soggier. I like all phases of that.
That's true.
So, and then of course when you saute it in butter, like we've done.
And that's what you've done.
Yeah, where I've never really sauteed it, and now it's got like little crunchy edges, which is like, okay, yeah, now I see why that's why people eat it that way.
You must have been watching our show, because we like butter.
In
almost everything.
I like butter. In fact,
So
you see, I get Amish butter right from
There you go. You got a little ham in there.
I did
a little
country
butter.
ham from our neighbors down the road.
If you came to visit this spot, what might you expect to find? What else do you sell that's local and
Well,
what do
we
you guys
sell
do?
15 kinds of fruit jam, and all the fruit's locally grown.
Local.
And all we use is local fruit and organic sugar. We don't use pectin or citric acid, only like your grandma used to make before pectin was available. And pectin's not bad. It's bad for you. It's just a thickener that you don't need. And usually when you use pectin, you use twice as much sugar. So that means your jam is going to be way more sugar and less fruit. Our jams are twice as much fruit and half as much sugar as your traditional recipe on a box of Cerdo. 15 kinds. Some of them are unusual. Gooseberries we grow. We grow rhubarb. We grow black currants. So in addition to the jam, we make 4 kinds of coarse-grained mustard. We start with whole organic mustard seed and grind it up fresh. Then we make 2 kinds of pickled vegetables, pickled asparagus and pickled okra, and we grow the asparagus and okra here.
Wow.
Then we have, with the corn, in addition to the hominy, we have cornmeal and grits, and we have...
You grind that right here?
Right here in that small mill. One more thing, which is our biggest thing that we make, is soap. We make 1,500 bars at a time in this tank, and we make 10 to 13,000 bars of soap a year.
Wow. Now, all this talk about food has made me hungry. What's the chances of us chowing down?
It's all ready. It's warm and ready to go.
Let's eat.
Okay.
Now, looky right here. That's a local plate.
You got it.
More local, you get that. All right, let's try this. Of course, we already did off camera a long time ago, but I've been picking this up with my fingers.
Yes, this is definitely a finger food.
And this is absolutely...
This is the hominy with country ham in it, but I sauteed it with butter, salt and pepper, and country ham.
I could eat a whole plate of that.
Me too.
You don't find hominy everywhere. It's a long, drawn-out process, and you have to have the right stuff to do it. So instead of me trying to make it, I'm just going to buy it from you.
There you go.
How's that?
Sounds good to me. I got lots of it. Look at all those bags there.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and your beautiful place with us.
Welcome.
Showing us around your kitchen. I hope these folks right here will share in your wonderful knowledge of food. You've been doing this a long time.
24 years.
Good to meet you.
Thank you, Tim. It's really fun.
Now let's
Enjoy
eat.
it. Yeah, let's eat, everybody. Okay.
What do you think about the whole hominy process?
That's very interesting.
Don't you love hominy?
I do love hominy. I've had it just fried in butter. I didn't.
That's, you know, she made that with a ham, and she
Oh,
just turned it
yum.
over in butter, and with a, oh my goodness.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to start with some chicken here. We're going to take some chicken that we cut up. We usually like thighs, but we got some breast meat here. And we're going to turn these over. Now, the whole idea with what we're making tonight is, you've seen me cook a lot. I like to eat fairly quickly. I'm already starving. You
Me
starving?
too, yes.
Now, the thing about this is you could slow cook this. You could put this in a crock pot, you know, let your chicken cook along with everything else. But I like that brown taste. I like to brown the chicken a little bit, you know, saute the onions and the peppers. Now, what we're going to do is make a soup,
Yum.
a verde, chicken verde soup. And it's got the tortillas in it. You know, let's harken back to when we made the squirrel dumplings or the chicken and dumpling soup with the babies.
Yeah.
You know, when we're in a hurry, and they aren't grandma's dumplings, but just out of a can, boom. You cut those up,
And they're
cut up
delicious.
the biscuits, and you got instant dumplings. Now, we're going to do that tonight with tortilla shells. That's going to be our bread portion, in the soup itself. I am so in mood for this. You're going to get basically your whole tortilla Mexican experience here, but it's in a soup or a stew.
With hominy.
With hominy. Instead of, a lot of people
Yeah.
use garbanzo beans or chickpeas or things like that. We're going to use hominy. All right, let's talk about cooking outside. Now, a lot of times you'll see us use a Dutch oven. You can either use charcoal briquettes. Now, we do that to get you started. We show you how many you can put on the top or the bottom, and that's a very basic, easy way to get started. Now, as you progress, you take actual pieces of coals out of the fire, And you kind of know when it's 400 degrees or 350 degrees by the amount of coals you have on the top or the bottom. Later on, we're going to take all these ingredients, put them in the soup pan. Smoke got you, didn't it?
It did get me. And I'm just crying. I'm so happy. I'm crying.
Smoking the onions.
Yeah, the smoke and the
That's
onions.
one thing. You know, all day long that wind has been blowing this way. Smoke follows beauty.
That's right.
What can I say?
Oh, that is so sweet.
Like
I
said,
I wish you meant it. Oh.
I think, Mrs. Farmer.
I want to eat one like that. Do I have to wait?
You have to wait. That's going to have smoky hickory flavor. Now I'm just going to put a little bit more oil in here because we know we got our temperature just like we need it. Now what we're doing is just getting everything done, cooked.
That smells really good too. Wow.
We're just going to turn these over and get them nice and brown.
It smells amazing.
And at the last minute, we're going to take that tomato, dice it up and put it in here. The chicken at the last minute, we'll go ahead and let that set for a little while, but at the last minute we'll cut that up as well into just small pieces. Hey, that's cheating.
Oh, that's good. I wanted to make sure.
Taste a little smoky flavor?
It's really good.
That was probably what, one medium-sized onion, yellow sweet onion, and half a red pepper, half a yellow pepper?
Exactly.
Do you smell the beauty of those
I need to eat those now.
I'll tell you what, let's do, Nikki, if you don't mind. If you'll take these pieces and cut them into, I don't know, 3 or 4 pieces.
Okay, each one?
Yeah. Now I'm going to take our little pieces of chicken. We're going to toss everything in together because this is going into our liquid, which I'm going to start shortly. Go ahead and toss our tomato in as well. I don't want that to cook too much. Now, this is totally up to you how hot you want it. If you want to put some chilies in it, if you want to put a bunch of cayenne in it, you can. I'll tell you, while that's going right there, I'm going to go ahead and put my 3 cups of chicken broth, 3 cups of salsa verde. I'm going to take some black beans, which are already cooked. I'm not going to go too heavy on that. Maybe a half a cup. Then I'm going to take the star of the show here. I'm going to probably do 2 cups of hominy. Then I'm going to have Nicki bring our wonderful ingredients. Put in here. Now, if you will, cut these up into just, let's just
strips?
say,
About there?
I'd say that's about right.
And into half?
Cut those in half.
Okay, so that's about the size you want.
Yeah, and then cut these a little bit thinner.
Okay.
And that's going to be our dumplings. I'm going to go ahead and put those in there and let those swell up a bit. And you've cut up a nice little mess of cilantro here. I'm going to put 4 heaping tablespoons of that in. All right, so really now all we have to do is, here's what I'm going to put in there. Let's go ahead and do a tablespoon of cumin. Okay. Because I'm in the mood for it. Let's put a teaspoon of chili powder and just a little bit of paprika, just a little sprinkle on top. That's about all we're going to do spice-wise. Then we're going to put just a little bit of the jalapenos in there. Okay. Because I don't want to burn you up. You know, when we went to Mexico and we had people cook, you know, over there their way, I mean, the legitimate, real stuff. Yeah. I'm telling you what, these smells are very familiar. Are you ready, Mrs. Farmer?
I'm ready.
It's hot in more ways than one.
Uh-oh. Oh, wow.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and mix my
That's delicious. The sour cream helped tone down your hot. Woo!
It's warming.
It's good, though. Wow. The homony's amazing. I just got some hominy. I love it.
I'm telling you what, the consistency's in there nice. You know, we didn't really do those peppers to where they were just mushy. Still got a little texture there.
That is good.
Now, Kelly just said it, MexiTucky. This is MexiTucky. This is absolutely delicious. To tone down the heat, you make something that you know, I don't remember eating that much. But it's probably one of the easiest desserts to make.
Mild on your belly.
Especially with instant rice. Rice pudding. I absolutely love it. And your grandmother had it in a restaurant because it was cheap to make and everybody liked it.
It's good dessert.
Well, let's go ahead and eat like Cro-Magnons, and then go and do your rice pudding inside.
Alrighty, sounds good.
All right. How'd you like your dinner?
That was really good.
So we came inside, so we changed our hats.
That's right.
Now, one of my favorite easy dishes that you make, other than your apple dumpling, is your rice pudding.
Because it's easy.
Because it's easy.
When we want something sweet really quick, you can do this in 15, 20 minutes.
I like that.
I do too.
How do we start?
Okay, my grandmother used regular rice. She would let it cook for a couple hours, let it cook down. You and I, all of a sudden we want dessert, so I go upstairs and I want to cook it quick. So I tried it with the minute rice, and it turned out pretty good, didn't it? For a quick dessert, I think. And one thing she always said was no matter what liquid you use, like if you use 1 cup of liquids, half of that of rice, so half a cup of rice. So we're going to go 2 cups of liquid tonight, so we need 1 cup of rice. And the liquid could be different. She would put milk, cream. I like to mix it up a little bit. Creams it up a bit. So we're going to go with 2 cups of liquid tonight to start. So I have 1 cup of water.
Okay.
And let's go make that, oopsie. 2 cups. Let's add, this is half and half. You could do heavy whipping cream too.
That has no calories in it. The water absorbs the calories.
And if you want to go ahead and get that boiling.
Get it boiling?
We're going to boil it. So now all we have so far is our liquid and our rice. We are going to add half a cup of sugar. All right, half a cup of sugar.
Cinnamon.
We need some cinnamon. We're going to put it at the end, but we're also going to just, let's shake a little in there, give it.
Cinnamon's really good for you.
Love cinnamon.
We talked about this circulation and such.
Yes. And now let's do about a teaspoon of vanilla. Isn't that simple?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, but you had a good idea. You were talking raisins.
Mm-hmm.
So let's wait let's let it cook down a little bit. We're going to add raisins when it gets cooked down, and we're also going to add at the very end a couple eggs beaten.
You know what? This might be a good time to tell folks about our Facebook page, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. Like it. Check out where we're going, what we're doing. Also check out timfarmerscountrykitchen.com. Click on shows, then YouTube. You can look at whole shows or segments, recipes, things that we've done before, how-to stuff. Look at there, Miss Farmer.
That looks good. That's
Thickening it up.
You know what?
Is this the easiest dessert in the world?
It is. Especially with the minute rice. Look how quick this is cooking. You had a good idea. You always add a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think she did put raisins now that you mention
You know
it.
what else would be good in there? Just some little pieces of apple.
It would.
Wouldn't that be good?
You always
Like
come up
green
with,
apple?
let's just mix a couple of those in.
Okay.
We're going to temper it, I guess. We're going to go ahead and put,
bring it up here.
so we don't get scrambled eggs.
Let's bring the temperature up just a hair.
let's
Let me
see.
put a little bit more.
All right. And I'm going to stir it back in. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You go ahead and stir that. Just get it all mixed in there.
You know what, Mrs. Farmer?
Does it look good?
I like what you did right
Isn't
there.
that simple? All right, can I steal it from you? Mm-hmm. Steal your little spoon.
Am I a good stir?
You are really good.
Do I get a raise?
You do. And let's go ahead and get all that in there.
Okay, you got
Ready?
it out in your bowl?
Isn't it pretty?
It's beautiful.
Let's make it prettier.
Just a dash of
Yes,
cinnamon.
and she would do this.
That's a couple dashes.
Yeah, you got to coat it, make it pretty.
Wow.
She would stick it in the fridge, or you can let it sit out room temperature, and that's how she served it. She'd pull it and just scoop it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Just
Want
like
some?
that?
Yes.
Okay, now, you're doing something new here. I usually don't do this. You putting half and half on top of that?
You gotta have a little more on there. That's when the kids were little, that's what we used to do. Put a little of that. So you have, now this is a little gooey, a little still.
That's usually the way I eat it.
Yeah.
I don't think you're adding a new element
You
here.
could put ice cream on it even if you wanted, but we're gonna let's make it a little creamier with some half and half, or some even whipping cream.
Okay, there's no calories there.
Nope. And that is the perfect quick dessert.
Oh, wow.
You're good. I like your raisins. Apples is a great idea.
That's so good. So easy. And don't forget, one more time, check out our Facebook page and like it. We're trying to get our numbers up there. And remember, it's all about
Good times
good friends.
and good eats.
And we'll see you next week on Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen.
I love the raisins.
To order a cookbook or DVD of the show, please call 502-319-0487 or email timfarmerck@gmail.com. Special thanks to Furniture World Superstore, Housewarmings, Lodge Cast Iron, Tater Knob Pottery and Farm. Funding for Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen is brought to you by Diamond Gusset Jeans, the original Gusset Jean. Careful craftsmanship, continual improvement. Diamond Gusset Jeans, born and worn in the USA since 1987.
So, Jill, I know the markets have taken a hit lately. Just wanted to touch base.
How did Edward Jones come to manage over $800 billion in assets?
Here's our latest market outlook. There are two things that I'd like to point out.
So that's interesting. You know, we had spoken about that before.
Through FaceTime when you really need it. It's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing.